And we are back on the record in cause numbers 2022-0D02752 and 2022-0D02365 with the additional condition of the weapons in the home. Who does he live with, Mr. Huffman?
His parents?
Yeah. So is there an issue?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
He's in agreement, Judge.
Okay.
And he understands that that is going to be a condition of his probation.
Okay. And so with that, the recommendation, Mr. Huffman, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And Mr. Guerrero, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your pleas. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal these cases unless by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about, again, one for each case, is the trial court certification of your right to appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights because these are plea bargained or negotiated cases. You do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Guerrero, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing those documents?
Yes, Your Honor.
They were signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. Finally, the last one, the motion for deferred adjudication, or should say motions for deferred adjudication. You recall reviewing those with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Huffman, have you explained to your client both the benefits and detriments of deferred adjudication?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And Mr. Guerrero, do you understand that if you violate a condition of deferred adjudication, the court can proceed to sentence you up to the full range of punishment for these offenses? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you asking the court to grant you deferred adjudication?
No, Your Honor.
You don't want it? Because your motion tells me that you're asking for deferred adjudication.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry about that.
Got it. Okay. So I will find in each of these cases that there is sufficient evidence to substantiate findings of guilt. However, I will not enter findings of guilt at this time. Instead, I will defer further proceedings and place you on deferred adjudication pursuant to the plea agreement for a period of 10 years. There will be a $1,000 fine, 400 hours of community service. You'll be subject to urine and breath analysis, curfew. You'll have to take anger management. You're to have no contact with any co-defendants or complaining witnesses. And of course, not be in a home that has any firearms. And obviously you cannot possess any firearms or ammunition. And so anything further, let me start with Mr. Salcedo and Mr. Munson.
Not from our end, Your Honor. I don't know about Mr. Munson.
Nothing further from the state.
Mr. Huffman, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr. Guerrero.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Thank you, guys.
Back to page 19, Judge. Annex, may we have Jose Cruz?
Judge, I'm sorry, Judge, on Mr. Guerrero, Ms. Pineda brought up a point that I had not caught. Mr. Guerrero actually lives in Anthony, New Mexico. So he's going to be starting probation, and I just wanted to kind of bring that up. I don't know if there's
Well, he has to be in Texas, right? Or Carla, how are we going to do this?
Your Honor, I emailed Mr. Huffman back regarding just the process. I'm going to call him right now, and he's going to be given instructions to contact the interstate, and then from there, they'll give him the instructions. Usually in these cases, depending on the time today, but there shouldn't be any major issues with him not being able to return in the next few days. If not by tomorrow, I guess.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Pineda. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Is this Mr. Cruz? Let's get set up with the interpreter, please. Who's here? I didn't even see Ms. Garza. Mhm.
Hello, Judge.
Hi.
Next course. Was in the small probation.
So Annex, if you, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you all could please select the Spanish function on the interpreter.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ready.
Mr. Munson, on this, are you on this one?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have this down as counts 1 through 3. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
And I sent the dismissal to Mr. Hernandez.
Sí, buenas tardes. Gracias.
sounds good.
Ok, gracias.
Okay, get started.
In cause number 2022-0D0-3533, State of Texas versus Jose Cruz. Announcement of council, please.
Preston Munson for the state. Stage ready, Your Honor.
Rick Huffman, on behalf of Mr. Cruz, we are ready, Your Honor.
And Mr. Cruz is appearing remotely from the jail annex. He is also utilizing the assistance of a court interpreter, Ms. Lynette Garza. We are scheduled today for a plea. Mr. Cruz, is that your understanding of what we're doing here today?
Sí.
Okay, so in order to get started with your plea, I need to swear you in. If you would, please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Sí, juro todo lo verdad.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. If would you please state your name and date of birth for the record?
José Luis Cruz Quintana, 0528 del 79.
Mr. Cruz, you were charged in this case with multiple counts of second-degree felony offenses. There are documents indicating that you wish to enter a plea of guilty at least to some of the counts. So on those documents, the first marked is State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Cruz, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1, the plea papers, with your attorney and signing that document?
Sí.
Do you understand everything contained within that document?
Así es, me explicó el abogado.
And that was my next question. Mr. Huffman, did you explain the documents to your client in his language?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay. And so have you also had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
Yes, I have.
Mr. Cruz, Mr. Huffman, do you believe your client has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Sí.
And Mr. Huffman, any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his pleas?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, have you ever been found mentally incompetent by any court?
No.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No.
So based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea today. Are you a U.S. citizen?
No.
Okay, Mr. Huffman, have you discussed the potential consequences to his immigration status for his pleas today?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Okay, what have you advised?
Your Honor, Mr. Cruz has a prior deportation. And then this case will result in another deportation, and he will be denied entry into the United States and denied naturalization. So he's aware that yes, it will have an effect on his immigration status.
Mr. Cruz, have you been able to discuss that fully with your attorney?
Sí, así es.
And you understand those consequences, denial of citizenship, all of those things are likely to happen as a result of your plea today? Do you understand that?
Sí, sí lo entiendo.
And with that said, do you need any more time to discuss those consequences with either Mr. Huffman or another attorney?
No, no.
And are you asking the court to go forward with your plea today?
Sí, por favor.
Okay, so in this case, I understand the plea agreement is a plea of guilty on counts 1 through 3, the lesser included offense of attempted smuggling of a person for pecuniary benefit. Is that what it was? Because I think it was supposed to be a 3rd degree, no? So it was just an attempted smuggling minus the.
Smuggling of a persons, yes.
Okay, so it was just an attempted smuggling of persons, counts 1, 2, and 3. To those 3 counts, Mr. Cruz, what is your plea? Guilty or not guilty?
Culpable.
And as that's guilty as to each count, correct?
Correcto.
Are you making your pleas freely and voluntarily?
Así es.
I will find you are making your pleas freely and voluntarily. Mr. Munson, would you summarize the evidence, please?
This case would proceed to trial. State of Texas were proven beyond reasonable doubt on or about the 10th day of August 2022. The County of El Paso, State of Texas, Jose Luis Quintana Cruz attempted to use a motor vehicle to transport an individual, namely Albina Lopez Santis, Martha Sanchez Lopez, and Celia Sanchez Lopez, with the intent to conceal the complainants from a peace officer. Move to admit State's Exhibit 1, plea papers, and the 3914 State's Exhibit 2.
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, states 1 and 2 are admitted. What is the plea agreement?
Plea agreement is a 1244A on the lesser included attempted smuggling of persons at 150 days of confinement in the El Paso County Detention Facility.
Mr. Huffman, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And Mr. Cruz, is that your understanding as well?
Sí.
Understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the 1-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargain or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Cruz, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Sí.
It was signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. So on your pleas of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your pleas and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. As to counts 1, 2, and 3, I will find you guilty of the lesser included offense of attempted smuggling of persons. And I will sentence you according to the plea agreement and in accordance with 1244A of the Texas Penal Code to 150 days confinement in the El Paso County Detention Facility. They will all run concurrent and you will receive credit for any and all time that you have served. Is there anything further, Mr. Huffman or Mr. Munson?
Yes, Your Honor. In agreement to the plea on the first 3 counts, we have agreed to dismiss counts 4 through 7.
Thank you for reminding me. I just signed that dismissal as to the remaining counts. Okay. Anything else?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
Nothing further from the state.
Good luck to you, Mr. Cruz. I see we have one
Yes.
more plea. Do we need, thank you, Ms. Garza. Do we need to keep the interpreter for the next plea? I believe
No.
it's Mr. Miller.
No, Your Honor. And I was gonna ask, I don't know, Mr. Munson, if maybe, it seems like the policy may have changed a little bit, Judge. Right now, the rec for Mr. Miller is 5 straight. He's young man.
Hold on, Mr. Huffman. Ms. Garza, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. May the interpreter be excused?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
And Mr. Cruz, we're done with him, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge.
Sorry.
All right.
Next, may we have Miller, Victor Miller?
Go ahead, Mr. Huffman.
So I was really, Judge, I was hoping for given kind of like the shift in policy. I had not kind of reached out to Mr. Munson about it. But if we can have an opportunity to do that, I think it's worth resetting the plea and doing a deferred on this one.
There's not with the facts in this one.
The accident,
Yes, it's staying as is.
I understand. Okay, Judge, we're ready to go. I think I just had to kind of ask, Judge.
Is that Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller, is that you?
Yes,
Okay. I'll go ahead and call it. Calling cause number 2022-0D03762, State of Texas versus Victor Manuel Miller. May I have announcements, please?
President Munson for the state is ready, Your Honor.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Miller, we are ready, Your Honor.
And Mr. Miller is appearing remotely from the jail annex. Today we are scheduled for a plea. Mr. Miller, is that your understanding of what we're doing here today?
yeah,
Okay, so in order to get started with your plea, I need to swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
I swear.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down and please state your name and date of birth for the record.
Victor Miller, June 2nd, 2004.
Mr. Miller, as I mentioned, we're scheduled for a plea in this case. There are several counts. I believe it's 7 counts, 7 felony counts. So there were plea papers that you should have reviewed with your attorney. Within those plea papers marked as State's Exhibit number 1, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Excuse me?
Okay, I'm hearing, Mr. Miller, have you been able to hear me all this time?
Yes, yes.
So-
I have a little bit of problem on understanding English.
Okay, if you need to stand a little closer, I'm hearing some background noise too. So the plea papers, do you recall State's Exhibit number 1, the plea papers in this case?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the one that described all the rights that you have to go to trial, all of those things? Do you recall that?
¿Qué está diciendo? Es que casi.
No.
That's an understanding.
Yeah, we're gonna need an interpreter.
Please.
Yes, Judge, we'll get it.
Mr. Huffman, I don't know what is going on, but we're not getting informed, and clearly your client needed an interpreter. So I need you to be on top of those things. We just let Ms. Garza go. And as you know, scheduling with the interpreters is very difficult because everybody uses the very few resources that we have. Senor Miller, we're gonna get you an interpreter, okay? So let's get off of YouTube.